You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess. You're here to slay her. If you don't, it will be the end of the world. That's the premise of Slay the Princess. But trust me, this game is so much more than it seems. My first full playthrough took just over 6 hours. And honestly, that was only one of many, many possible experiences. The choices you make shape everything. And with so many branching paths and different versions of the princess, it's impossible to see everything in just one playthrough. If you're like me and enjoy digging deeper into a story, multiple playthroughs will give you even more content. But even having only played through it once, I feel I got my $20 worth. At its core, Slay the Princess is a choice-driven visual novel, but it stands out by how it handles the narrative twists. You start the game with a simple, unsettling instruction of going to the cabin and slaying the princess, and it sounds kinda straightforward. But the game takes this seemingly simple setup and twists it in all kind of really creative and unexpected ways. Every choice you make shifts the story. From whether you approach the cabin, do you take the blade with you down to the basement or not? How do you interact with the princess? Do you speak to her? Do you straight up attack her, or do you try to help her escape? All of this will lead to their own unique outcomes. And it doesn't stop there. Each time you restart from the forest, something will be different. The princess might not be the same as before. The setting itself might have transformed, evolving with each decision you make. And the game actually makes sure you won't end up going down the exact path more than once in a single playthrough. Each journey to the cabin happens over the course of 2 or 3 chapters. Even though you will end up seeing some of the same content again, you cannot get the same conclusion more than once in a singular playthrough, which I quite enjoyed. As you progress through the game, you start uncovering the game's larger narrative. And while I won't spoil anything, I will say the deeper layers of the story add a lot of intrigue. Admittedly, the ending wasn't my favorite, but Slay the Princess is definitely one of those games where the journey itself is the real highlight, and the ending was in no way bad. There are also multiple endings, so the ending I got might not be the same one you got. And while you will have to do some reading in this game, most of it is voice acted, and absolutely brilliantly so. There are only 2 voice actors, one plays the princess, and the other one plays the narrator and your internal voices. And both do an excellent job in their portrayal. I was most impressed by the princess, whose range of going from sweet and innocent to downright terrifying with only slight tone shift and choices of words are so good. The voice acting and writing made me both love the princess and fear her in an absolutely delightful way. While the narrator and my internal voices brought quite a bit of humor and interest, and I was really impressed with how fluid the narrator voice actor manages to juggle all of these voices while making them distinct enough to hold up entire conversations, where I could pretty easily tell who was talking. It's of course the writing that helps the most here. Each voice, the narrator or version of the princess is written to be their own unique person, making them entertaining, lovable, and terrifying. The sheer creativity with the variety of story had me pleasantly surprised, and it was always a treat to enter the cabin to see how it had visually changed, and to meet the many versions of the princess that ranged from sweet and innocent to something borrowed straight out of a horror game. Visually, the game is hand-drawn, and while at first I wasn't sure about the art style, it really grew on me. It beautifully fits the environment and adds to the unnerving feel of the game. The environments are varied, the princess designs are diverse, and the little animations and hidden details in the environment were really interesting and sometimes disturbing. Now, Slay the Princess is one of those games you can easily miss. I had seen it and heard it was good, but generally dismissed it, as interactive novels aren't really my type of games, and yet I absolutely adore this one. So for me, Slay the Princess was not just worth playing. I genuinely wish I had played it earlier. I would highly recommend it to anyone interested in narrative horror games or just visual novels in general. So if you're into narrative-driven games, especially ones with a little bit of a horror twist. Or if you just enjoy visual novels, I highly recommend Slay the Princess. The creativity, the voice acting, the writing, it all adds up to a wonderful experience. But that's just my opinion. What do you think? Have you played Slay the Princess? Or does it sound like a game you would want to try? Let me know in the comments. And while you're down there, go on ahead and sacrifice that like button to the algorithmic overlord. Subscribe for more reviews, and if you're curious, check out my full playthrough of Slay the Princess right here on the channel. But for now, all I wanna say is takk fyrir að horfa og yndislegan dag.